That was just totally messed up. I just realized I didn't do the countdown.
I was like, what? You didn't do the countdown.
I was like, I saw your mouth moving. I was like, she's probably saying something right now. And then I realized, yeah, I see what it is. I was like, and once you get thrown off, you're just like, how do I get back on track? And
exactly.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, everyone. Once you go live, it's kind of like you never know what's going to happen. That's what makes it so fun.
Exactly. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for the Life, Love, and Money Show. We always love to laugh. So, hey, we got our first laugh on the show, right?
What's funny is I notice sometimes when we have one disaster on one platform, it just kind of carries over. But here's the learning lesson, everybody. You got to learn, and this goes in life in general. When something goes wrong, are you going to freeze and panic and be like, oh my gosh, and then do nothing?
Right.
Or are you just going to remember the show goes on? And that's no different with life, because things are going to happen. It's life. You live on planet Earth. It's not going to go smoothly, but how do you choose to continue to show up? So welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you haven't been here before, this is the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. This is my co-host, Jen, whom I love absolutely. She is absolutely
I love you.
Thank you. And she is amazing financial coach. So she's fantastic. She's your money coach. She's amazing. She's worked with Disney, Target, the Air Force. I mean, you name it. She's written, 6 books? She is amazing. Cheerio. Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
Yeah.
And you guys,
everybody.
This logo, man. Okay, so some of you don't know, I'm a designer too. I did not make this logo. I cannot take credit for it, but I love this logo. And you're going to have an opportunity to win some swag, and you're going to want some swag because this logo is so badass. So stay tuned for that. Look at that. Check that out. Yeah.
We've got hats. We've got, oh my gosh, we've got these cool masks.
Yes.
Life, Love, and Money masks.
I wear that everywhere.
And we've got some cups.
Yeah.
We've got some hand sanitizer with our little logo, which clips on. It has a little hook that's going to clip. Unfortunately, I haven't received those yet, but when I do, get this. See this big wheel back here? Woo!
Oh, wait, did you write on it already?
Yeah, I wrote on it.
Okay, tell us what you wrote.
Life, Love, and Money.
Yes. Now we're going to give you virtual love, but I don't know about the money, but because we got to reinvest that into our business, but there are going to be opportunities to win some really cool swag stuff.
Absolutely. And if you want to throw up the banner, people can also call in.
Yes.
So we're giving you an opportunity to call in. If you have a question for us, you can call in that question. We may not be able to answer that question right on this episode, but we can definitely try it on the following episode. And also, you have the opportunity. First of all, let me thank you. Let me thank you for being here, and let me thank you for following us. But you also have the opportunity, if you've missed any of our shows, any of the content from this show, you can go over to YouTube and watch the replay. You can subscribe. You can also join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We're all over the place. Oh, and we have an announcement towards the end. If you want to do it now.
Yeah, let's do it now. So for some of you, and we're so excited about this, for some of you might have heard of this new platform called Clubhouse. And basically it's a new app. It's only Apple-based. Sorry, Android users. Just so FYI, I'm an Android user. I have to Mickey Mouse it and do it on the iPad. There's a way around it. So, but we are there. And so we are hosting every week on Mondays and Wednesdays our roundtable. So it's another platform for us to build community, to get our message out there, to help more people. And so if you're there, please join us on Mondays at 9 a.m. Pacific, or that's 12 p.m. Eastern, or on Wednesdays, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, or 1:30 p.m. Eastern. And we just did our first one, right, Summer? Yesterday. Tell us, you want to share how it went real quick?
You share, please.
Yeah, it was so of course, with anything, and here's another lesson. Don't wait till everything is perfect and the planets and stars aligned. You just dive into it. And you learn as you're falling down and figure it out. And so we go into this platform and we're like, hey, we don't know who's going to show up. thank goodness. Shout out to Cindy Lou and her friends. They joined our group. And it was just like a party line discussion. It's not video, so it's all audio. So I say party line as if you all are not millennials. So I'm assuming you know what party line is. But
way back in the 80s, we had a party line on the phone. And in the 90s, we had chat rooms. So it's almost like
on AOL.
But here's the thing. I never participated in those.
I was all up in those AOL chat rooms. I still remember my AOL handle. Oh gosh.
AOL.
Yeah, AOL. Remember that with the modem connecting?
Oh my gosh, the dial-up.
Yes, and then somebody picks up the phone and your whole conversation just ends. They're just like, hang up, I'm on the computer.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what Clubhouse is. It's audio. And so what happens is if you host a meeting like Jen and I did the other day, you can open it up to the public. Other people who are on Clubhouse can join in. And it was so much fun because once Cindy Lou started joining in, her friends started joining in, we got all kinds of questions. We were able to talk about life, love, and money with Summer and Jen and going live. We were able to talk about some of our other ideas. We are so excited to use that platform. It is in beta right now. So, which, as Jen said, that's why it's only for Apple users. But once, they're through testing and they do survey people every Sunday, they have an open house. They want to know more about you and more about how you're using the platform and what works for you. So it's really, really cool. But let's get to our questions because we got some good ones.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to start off with your question. So
okay. Whew, okay, let's start off with this question. Okay, so Summer and Jen, I met this guy. We've been dating for about 8 months. I feel like this is the one. But there's an issue. I live in Arizona and he lives in California. My dream job is in Arizona. We have been talking about marriage and I'm struggling thinking about having to leave my job. What would you do? Okay. Wow. I always love these questions. I mean, they have so much depth and so much that we can talk about. But it's not and I'm going to start out this way. It's not what I would do. It's what you would do. And these are why coaching is so valuable because we give you guidelines. And you can work within those guidelines. You can choose to kind of mold those guidelines to your situation. And there are many situations that go into, and many decisions that go into a relationship. And furthermore, moving for a relationship is a biggie. There are many things you can do in advance when you're thinking about a relationship and moving for that relationship. What's really important is to have more than one conversation about this, about leaving your job, about your networks, about your resources, what you each can do to work towards that move, what your goals are, what your shared goals are, and what your personal and professional missions are, individually and together. Now, you can also, figure out, would it be more beneficial for your partner to move to where you are or for you to move where your partner is? Now, I say this because there's so many things that go into this. Depending on who moves to the other, find the resources you need. See if those resources are available and around the locations of where you want to be. Can either of you, and here's another one, can either of you maintain your position when you move? So can you work from a distance? If you were to move to California, can you take your job with you? Will your job allow you to work from a distance? Will his job? That is also a really good idea or understanding of like, okay, yeah, that can happen. It'll be easier for me to move because my job can come with me. Are you an entrepreneur? Because many times if you're an entrepreneur, your job can go with you.
Yeah.
So for instance, for me, I mean, I'm going to give you a little tidbit about my background. I had to move so many times because my husband was military, and many times because my vision for myself was to have tenure somewhere and be that clinician and work in that hospital and, go up the chain, the corporate chain, or even the nonprofit or the, let's say, the government chain, and have that job. I wasn't able to do that. And that's a decision I made because I married somebody in the military. And here's the thing, you can't necessarily help who you fall in love with, but you can definitely help your situation in relation to what decisions you make and preparing for those decisions. And that's something that I used to do. I used to prepare for every move. What are my resources? Where would I get a job? How do I start preparing my resume? Who are my networks? Who can I start connecting with in those particular areas if you can't take your job with you? But these are all things that are so important to think about before you make the move. Let's see, what else did I note here? Find out through your conversations how each of you can support one another emotionally. I think that's so important because you might, right, Jen? Because you might think
huge.
It's so huge. Because you might think, oh, yeah, we've got this all together. But when it comes down to it, and it becomes a conversation that comes up more than once, you don't want your partner to be going, oh my gosh, she just already mentioned this. Or, oh my gosh, I can't take it anymore. I can't hear this anymore.
Oh my God, please don't move with me.
So that's the thing.
Stay there.
Seriously. And that is really important because you have to be able to have those conversations because a job is not just a job. It is your purpose. It is where you find value. It's not where you have to find all your purpose and value by any means. But as humans, we've been conditioned to say, even when you go to a party, what's the first question people ask a lot of times?
When you go to a party?
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm looking for the food.
I mean, you're looking for the food.
I don't know if you want to ask me. I'm like, where's the food? Is there drinks? That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh my God, you're the best. You're so cute. So many times that person.
I don't think that was the answer though.
So it's not necessarily like when you go to that party, it's not necessarily like people are like, oh, what's your hobby? No, it's like, what do you do? And so there's a lot. And in Jen's case, where's the food?
Where's the food?
Have the food, buddy. You better have the food. Oh my God, that's great. So, there's a lot of value and emotion that is attached to a job, attached to moving because of your networks, because of your resources, because of your job. So get very clear about some of these things and having these conversations with that significant other. It's about commitment and it's about investment. It's about investment in yourself, but it's also about investment in the relationship. And relationships are investment. And you can't at the end of the day be looking back should something happen with this relationship and regret or harbor hard feelings against that person being like, I put off my job or I moved for you. No, you have to think about your investment. And the last thing I'm going to say here, and I'm going to actually read this paragraph that I wrote because I think it's really, really important because it's about commitment. It's about investment, which means you can support one another emotionally, fiscally, and physically because a move is physical. There is going to be, some altering of a financial situation, and it is a big emotional thing. It's a big change. It's a big transition. So a move can be emotional. It can feel like a loss and gain in many ways, but the transition can go more smoothly if you both have an understanding of how you can support one another, engage in making important decisions about the move together, and are clear about your what, Jen? What do I always say?
Values.
Your values and making sure those align as a couple, which are factors that will help each of you be prepared to make the decision to move forward with the decision to move. Your values are so critical. Just knowing your own personal values, but then also knowing how your values align with your partner's.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know you guys hear this all the time about values, but it's really like a cornerstone. It really is a foundational principle that is your North Star. It really guides a lot of your decisions. And I think so often we get caught up in the busy or we get caught up in everything that's around us that we forget to look inwards and ask ourselves, wait a minute, is this aligning and in congruency with my values? And we ignore it too often.
Yeah, absolutely. Values are so important to even just take an opportunity, especially in the new year, take the opportunity to understand your values, to create a list of your values and why those are values for you, why those serve a purpose in your life, why you believe what you do. This is a great time to start. Actually, in my book, and I know I talk about this book Effie, I get real strong language, but in the back of the book, it actually gives you strategy about how to create your own personal values plan.
Oh, y'all gotta do that. Okay, my book is right over there on the desk over there. Yeah, let me tell you, when I look through it, and I'm about to dive into it pretty soon, but there are some concrete exercises that she's created that will walk you through these things. And I think this is, Summer, where can people find your book? I think people need to read this because it's going back to basics. It's going back to aligning your purpose, your mission, and your passion and everything. Because too often we're hearing, especially this time of the year, like, go out there, do this, but you haven't even done foundational work.
Right. And that foundation, your values are your launching pad. They're your North Star, as you said. They're your launching pad. They're going to be what gears you towards a certain job, certain partner, certain whatever you desire, so to speak. Whatever your life is all about, your values are a critical part of that. And so you can find that book at Amazon online. You can find it at Barnes & Noble online. You can find it at Walmart online. Everywhere. It's in a lot of different places.
It's very digestible. It's not 500 pages. This is not War and Peace. It's like you can do it in 2 hours.
It's not a Dickens novel, which
it's
not Dostoevsky.
Totally do it. Okay, no excuses.
That's right.
Yeah, because I see some of you all posting stuff like, "Oh, I need a good book to read. Get this one because you need it."
Absolutely. And here's the other thing. I just put up a number. Call in now, 703-883-3999. You have the opportunity now on this show to call in and ask your questions. As I said, we may not be able to answer them right now, but we might be able to answer them next show. We want to answer your questions. So let's get on to the second question because it's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some time. So here it goes. I think my marriage is about to end. The part that scares me, though, is that I haven't been the one who managed our finances, so I feel completely in the dark. What do you suggest I should do first to prepare myself?
Great question. And I love questions that surround divorce because if you don't already know about me, I went through one myself in 2009 and I was separated in 2008. And so I've been through that process. I can completely empathize. I've been there, done that, and I can tell you it was not fun. So if you are going through that, my heart, prayers, everything goes out to you. But there is hope. And this is why it's so important to really start to look inside and say, you know what, I need to start taking care of myself. There are going to be some things that are super important on the logistics side. Granted, you do have to do the emotional work, the self-work. That's where you get the therapy, counseling, work with a coach, all those different things. I'm going to address the finances, the logistics side, the practicals. And so if you happen to be the person who was not managing it, I know it can be scary, but there are going to be some things, some concrete things that I can empower you and inspire you to do because they're very doable. So the first one is to gather your documents. And this is where you're going to have to either, you're going to have to print out credit card statements, bank statements, your income statements, start gathering tax returns. With the statements like the credit cards and things like that, you want a few months. When it comes to taxes and income, those types of things, you're going to want a few years. And so it's going to be, even retirement accounts. And don't get too caught up like, well, I don't know what's there. I do what you can. Don't stress, because the thing is, at the end of the day, when you file, a lot of this stuff has to be disclosed. But the more work that you can do up front, the more money you're going to save. Because sometimes, people don't realize like, okay, well, if I'm just going to wait. No, because the more work, the more legwork. Here's the thing. When you work with an attorney, there's a retainer. And if you've never hired, I've had a lot of attorneys. That's how life works. I'm not even afraid of any of the thing anymore.
It's expensive.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And I live in California, the sue happy state. So I mean, it's nothing new. Now, if I ever, if anything happens, I'm just like, whatever. You just get through it. But you don't be afraid. Okay, this is not a time to be afraid. This is a time for you to prepare and be ready. And so what you want to do is get your ducks in a row. Start doing what you can, because when you pay an attorney, there's a retainer, meaning typically it's about $2,500 on average. It can go up or higher or lower, but once that money runs out, then your attorney is going to say, okay, we've already used up all the hours. Now it's going to be an extra XYZ to do this, and this.
Oh my goodness.
So the less work that you let your attorney do that you can do, the more money you'll save. And this is all about being efficient with your dollars. Okay.
Can I step in here for a sec then, Jen, really quickly? Because my question to you is, some people that I've known in the past have said, okay, I want to do this myself. Or I want to file the paperwork and give it to a paralegal to review.
Yeah, well, is it impossible? No. But I have to ask somebody. You have to ask what are you comfortable with? Me personally, right. I'm the kind of person that likes to invest my money into a professional that knows what they're doing, so that I don't run into mistakes that I will end up paying for because I was cheap. I'm not saying those people are cheap, but you see what I'm saying? Because what happens is like, well, I'll just save money because I could do it myself. Well, here's an analogy we've had in the industry. Like, well, you don't do your own dentistry work. You don't do your own brain surgery. Oh my God. And there's a certain point because, for example, let's say it's taxes. Some people might just have a simple, I only have one 1040, a W-2, that's it. Have at it. Go do your TurboTax. Fine. But if you have multiple properties, you got a 1099, you got another job, you do part-time here, you freelance here, you have a side business here that you have to file taxes on and on and on and on, you may not want to do your own taxes. Yeah. So I say that because depending on your situation and the complexity of it, at some point you just need to say, I need a professional to look at this.
Right. Because right now, you might think you're saving money, but in the end, you might be losing lots of money.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, and you don't want to be in that position because they're going to be, are you an attorney? Are there certain things that you're not aware of because it's not what you do?
Right.
You will not save money at the end of it. It's kind of like this idea of opportunity cost.
Yeah.
You're spending money here because you're thinking you're saving money, but what's actually happening is like you find out down the road, like, oh, I filed that wrong. Oh, I got to redo it. Oh, I got to go back and reverse it and then do it. And that happened to me. I had a horrible mediator. It was terrible. That's another episode. But like, yeah, that I had a horrible mediator. And so I found out that the paperwork was filed wrong. And check this out. I'll say this. And I have no problem sharing the story later on, but I showed my paperwork to an attorney 2 years after the mediator had filed it and all that stuff. And they said to me, like, I was disputing a property. What happened? That's what happened. And they were like, wait, how did this go through? And I was like, I don't know. And then they said, well, in order to fix this, you have to undo the divorce, file the paperwork correctly, and then redo the divorce. I said, oh, no, skip all that. By that point, I was like, no, I'm moving on with my life. But
wow. Undo the divorce?
Undo it to fix the paperwork and then redo it. And I'm just like, no, like, I'm done. This was already like 2 years ago. But it's, that's an example. That was an example of a bad person that did not handle it correctly. But if you go cheap, you could potentially run into situations like that.
Right.
Where it's going to cost you more to fix it. Or because of the way you did it, you didn't know that you should have done it a different way. And then you realize like, oh, it could be a massive financial mistake.
Right.
So, and buyer beware, be cautious, to each his own. I mean, if you want to do it yourself and find out the hard way, I hope you don't find out because that's even worse that But that's the choice you decide to make.
And I think that's really valid. You really need to make the choices now and this is why we're here, because we want to provide you with these guidelines and these options, because then you have a choice. You have a choice to make about how you want to proceed. So there you go. Now are we on number 2?
So number 2 is like analyze your lifestyle and expenses. This is super important, especially because, we've talked about it a lot about budgeting and your spending plan. This is really important for you to understand your expenses and to know where's the money going. Because if you're going to file for alimony, meaning the financial support that your soon to be ex-spouse, you're trying to get that money, they're going to want to know, like, when you talk to your attorney, they're going to want to know, like, well, what are we asking for? What kind of lifestyle are we supposedly continuing to fund? Because you can't just come up with some number, go like, I want $20,000 a month.
Right.
You know, like you have to be able to like understand, like, or list out, okay, well, this is how much I found utilities for the children's stuff, for food, entertainment, clothing, utilities, mortgage, rent, whatever.
Right.
You can start tracking that. This is why if you had that budget in place, like we've talked about for the last 14 weeks,
Right.
you'd have it already laid out. You can justify that your lifestyle needs to be supported for these amount of dollars. And if you don't do this, some people have had to hire forensic accountants, which is so again,
yeah.
the more legwork that you can do up front, the better.
Yeah.
So really start looking, because you have to start planning this as if you are already divorced. You might be going into a situation where you're entering separation, but let's face it, you're going to be in a situation now where you're no longer really getting the it's not a dual income situation anymore. You have to start looking at, if let's just say somebody makes only $50,000, that's what you're working with. You have to start revamping everything. Well, where am I going to move to?
Right.
Can I financially keep this house? Does it make sense to keep the house? Should we sell it, split the proceeds? These are questions and answers that you need to talk about with your attorney, and look at all possible scenarios that are going to work for you to the best, to your best, outcome. But you can't do anything if you don't know where you're starting from, which is why it's so important to understand, the expenses involved. And then, the last one is this one's super important: access to cash. And what I mean by that is, you might be in a situation, especially if your spouse is the breadwinner, you might be in a situation where you're depending on his income or her income. And if everything goes awry and they don't want to put money into the joint account that you are so used to spending from, or they stop supporting you financially, you're going to be in a situation like, well, now what? I don't have the money. So this is why you having access to cash is so important. Not only should you set aside money for your side of, your attorney's retainer and legal fees, you can try to get that recovered from, the whole proceeding and the whole situation, but that takes time. It's not like, hey, I need it by Monday. It doesn't work like that. This is why you have to have enough money to tide you over for the duration of, I've seen legal, like, divorce things drag out for a couple years.
Yes. So,
it depends on your situation, depends on what state you live in. But the point is that you need to have access to cash. And if you don't, and I don't ever really strongly suggest this, but if you have to the point where you have to deplete it from an emergency fund or in a retirement account, that's where you're going to have to get it. Or you're going to have to ask friends and family, hey, can I take out a personal loan with you? And just be realistic with how you have to cut back, but you have to have the access to cash in the case so that you're not going to get stranded with nothing coming in.
Right.
So this is it's all about just, being prepared. And the last one is about legal documents. This one is super, super important. You need to also talk to your attorney, start looking at the beneficiaries. Too often, when it comes to estate planning, when it comes to the documents, the beneficiaries on your IRAs, on your accounts, on the trust, on the wills, we forget it. We're so caught up in everything. We forget that we didn't change that. And
my goodness.
There are people who get remarried and don't update those documents. Something happens. The new husband, the new wife cannot dispute what was not changed on those legal documents.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious? Do you think that's just via jurisdiction, or is that in general that you can't go back and change those documents?
I think it's a case by case situation. It might be both. Again, every state's different, but just be careful. This is why, because we get caught up. We're so busy. I mean, people ignore their finances, and that's happened when I've looked at estate planning stuff where people, oh my gosh, I did not change it can you believe it still had my ex-wife on it? I'm like, I'm making faces behind the phone, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, if you did not catch this.
Well, and a lot of people are so unaware. That's why you need to join us every Thursday so you can get this great information, because even my eyes are open to like, wow, okay, I didn't have a clue about, especially the wills and changing those names over and beneficiaries and such. That's really critical to know.
It's super important, because here's the thing, guys. You can't sometimes, again, every situation is different, but there are some cases where once you file, you can't go back and change the beneficiaries.
Wow.
Because now you're in the middle of it. So you
Yeah.
got to be very open and honest with your attorney, your counsel, whoever's representing you, and really look at those things because, you know, especially when it's a blended family, if there's children involved, sometimes the new person that comes into the situation,
Yeah.
and then the original parent passes away, that money might not go to the kids if that wasn't updated.
Right.
It's crazy. So, I mean, you got to really pay attention to those things. So that's a lot of homework if you are in that situation, but it comes down to getting all your ducks in a row.
Yeah. And if you haven't been here before, this is the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. And we try and answer your life, love, and money matter questions. So feel free to DM us your questions, direct message your questions to our Life, Love, and Money pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can even go to my Core Women page on Instagram. We go live there right before we go live here every Thursday. Join us every Thursday. We are here to answer your questions. This is 30 minutes of free coaching. How can you beat that?
I know. So yeah, you ready to give your nugget of the day?
I am. I'm ready to give my nugget of the day, but I also want to tell you that in the beginning of the show, we did mention that we are going to be on Clubhouse. Yes. Clubhouse every Monday and Wednesday. What are the times, Jen?
Yeah, Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 12 p.m. Eastern, or Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific, which is 1:30 p.m. Eastern.
Great. Thank you so much, because I wanted to tell you about that. Clubhouse is a new platform. It's audio only, and we have the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen Roundtable. So it's a great opportunity to bring up your questions and just to share casually with each other. It's a really great platform. So yeah, let's do our nuggets.
Yes. All right, Summer, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your nugget?
All right. It's about choice. I want you, and I don't know if you noticed throughout this episode, I highlighted the word choice. You have a choice. You have choices. You have choices to make every day. This is an honor. As human beings, we are given the opportunity to choose what we do in every moment. And don't ever think that somebody can take that away from you. You own that. Claim ownership over that. You have the ability to choose.
I love that, because it's a perfect segue into my nugget of the day, which is to stop and think about what is no longer serving you in your life. I think too often we get so busy. We came down from the holidays. Now is a new year. I mean, lots of things are chaotic right now in the world, but we stop. If we fail to stop and think about, like, hey, you know what? I don't need this in my life right now, or this isn't serving me. And so going back to Summer's nugget, if you make the choice, once you analyze what that thing is that's not serving you, then you can bring in that choice. Do you want to keep this in your life or not? Because this is, Summer, I'm so excited. I'm not gonna even talk about it, about clearing things out.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you got to start clearing. I'm telling you, and I'm telling you as somebody that practiced this, like last year at the end, it's when I started clearing out a lot of things, so many other things that served me, that filled me. I mean, it came in. And so we want that for you guys, and to understand it. We'll talk more about that at a later date. But yes, have the choice to say yes and no to the things that serve or don't serve you.
I love that nugget. As a matter of fact, that might be a topic that we have on Clubhouse, decluttering your brain and getting focused. So it's such a great subject matter. So I want to thank everybody who has joined us. Happy New Year. We are going to be bringing you some incredible life, love, and money matter tips and answering your questions. So keep joining us every Thursday. If you did not get an opportunity to watch this, please jump on over to our Life, Love, and Money with Summer and Jen YouTube page and subscribe. Pass it on. Share this information. And again, we want to thank you. Thank you, Jen, for being here with me. And
thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Right, thanks.
Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Dr. Summer Watson is the owner of the production and coaching company Core Women, LLC, is a doctor of psychology, has a depth of experience working in both for-profit and nonprofit in human services and mental health, is a professional coach, seminar host, documentary film producer, and an author. Jen Fontanilla is a former financial advisor and now a certified money coach, speaker, and has published 6 books. She has worked with organizations such as the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Target, Goodwill, and the U.S. Air Force. She loves working with women and helps them master their money and mindset to empower them to build the ultimate life without worrying about money. Join Summer and Jen every week as they go live on the Life, Love, and Money Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.